Support for this podcast comes from White Rogers. With over 75 years of expertise in heating and cooling controls, White Rogers is proud to offer a full line of furnace controls, gas valves, cooling and heat pump controls, water heat valves and controls, as well as our leading-edge thermostats. For more information, go to climate.emerson.com.
Welcome to The Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International, a show for residential contractors about residential contractors. We chronicle business journeys, share insights, and celebrate successes in this wonderful industry. I'm your host, Bob Houchin. Hello there, SGI family and other contractor friends. I'm so thankful you're here. As a reminder, all episodes of The Successful Contractor Show are available on YouTube, as well as your podcast player of choice. Today's show is a great conversation I had with Al Balonze of Efficient Air in Riverdale, New Jersey. And I'm talking to Al because Efficient Air has had back-to-back record-breaking years in terms of revenue. When we talked about a month ago, sales were up 94% from the previous year at a 52% gross margin. That's fantastic. As you'll learn, Al came to SGI looking for a way to break through this glass ceiling he had hovering over the business. He just couldn't seem to grow past that $2 million mark. Obviously, that's not to struggle any further. What I think is so incredible about Al's story is, he joined SGI weeks before COVID hit, and it shut down his business for a month. Obviously, none of us knew what to do at first, but he and his team pushed through. Because of Al's determination and again, the determination of his people, they were able to make critical changes to Efficient Air that are now leading to massive results. They're truly a remarkable team. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Al Balonze of Efficient Air in Riverdale, New Jersey. I hope you enjoy it and take away a nugget or two. Al, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm incredibly happy and excited to have you. For those who have not had the pleasure of meeting you, could you please share with them your name, your company name, and where you guys are located?
Absolutely. So my name is Al Balonze. I own Efficient Air Service, and we're in Riverdale, New Jersey. We're in northern New Jersey.
Northern New Jersey. Very good. And just for everyone, so they know, can you kind of break down what your team looks like? How about who's in the office there with you? Who all is on the office
Yeah,
staff?
sure, no problem. So there's a total of 6 of us in the office.
Okay.
That includes one person out in the warehouse. I consider him kind of part of our office.
Sure, of course.
We have 6 installers and 5 service tech, 1 salesperson.
Okay, 1 salesperson. All right. Are your service techs, I guess they all do a blend of maintenance and service?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're installed, I guess, 2, you said there were 6, so 3 installed teams?
Sometimes we do 3 teams of 2, and Sometimes we do 2 teams of 3. It really depends on what we have going on and how complicated the job is. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'm excited to talk to you because I know you've had a killer couple years here, and just for everyone so they know, talk about where sales are today versus last year.
Yeah, right now our year to date is we're about 94% greater sales this time over last year. So we're doing fantastic here.
And most importantly, it's at a real strong gross margin. You said you were sharing off camera.
Yeah, we're at about 50. I'm at about 52.9% gross profit right now.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking. So before we dig into the nuts and bolts of your day-to-day operation and how things are going well, I love learning people's backgrounds. I think there's a lot that can be learned from that. Your About Us page on your website gave me a little insight, so I can guide this a little better. You started as an apprentice in 1996. So what led you into the HVAC industry?
Yeah, it's great. So right before that, like right after high school, around 1991, I pretty much knew that I didn't really want to work in an office environment, like the type of white collar job.
Sure.
I knew that much. I just didn't really know where I wanted to be. I thought I wanted to get into the automotive field.
Okay.
So I worked in that arena for a few years, and I didn't feel like I just couldn't find my groove there. Got laid off from the job I was working at, and I didn't have a job basically. And my uncle was in this trade, and my mom, was there talking to me, and we just happened to be sitting on the couch, and a commercial came on TV. Funny story for Lincoln Tech, which is I'm not sure if they have that all around the country or not, but in New Jersey we have Lincoln Tech, which is a trade school. and it was advertising HVAC. I looked at my mom, she looked at me, like, why don't we go check that out, you know?
Yeah.
So I went and got a tour of the facility, and I liked it. So I, went in, full swing, and then put 100% into it.
Yeah.
Ended up to be, one of the better students, got out, and I felt like it prepared me to get out there and be, entry-level service tech.
Okay. And you said, if I read your site right, you were an apprentice for like is it a 5-year program in New Jersey?
Yeah, we had there's some apprenticeship programs here. So I did go through an apprenticeship program, a 5-year program, completed the 5-year program. I worked with one company for 10 years.
Okay.
So I got in the trade when I was about 20-ish.
Okay.
And I stayed in the trade until I was about 30.
Okay.
So, and then I started Efficient Air right after I put my 10 years in. So I worked for 5 years as an apprentice, and then I became a journeyman. And, from journeyman, stayed there for 5 more years.
Sure. Always residential service and replacement, or did you do a variety?
That was actually more, believe it or not, I started my career as a commercial guy.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
when you, when you decide, let's first start with that. Why did you decide to start your own business? Where'd that entrepreneurial bug bite you?
Well, I felt like I always had it, the way I was just brought up. My dad had a bunch of businesses. Some were successful, some weren't. So it's kind of in that, it always starts in the house, I feel, how you're raised.
Sure.
Yeah, so we had that bug in the house. And, my daughter was born in 2004, and that was really the awakening moment for me. It was like, we had 2 incomes, then we went to 1 income.
Okay, sure.
And I just felt like where I was at the time, I wasn't going to really achieve the goals that I had for myself.
Sure.
I had more in mind than what I was, doing at the time. So yeah. I felt the only way to really do that is to try my own thing. So I started in 2005.
Okay.
Right a year after she was born. Obviously, like all startups, everybody was against it. Family was like, "You're crazy," because I had a child, and I was leaving a stable job, to go do this. So
sure.
It was a lot of risk at the time. It felt like a lot of risk for sure.
Of course. So let's see, you started, like you said, 2005. You'd kind of had a commercial background. So did you originally try to get into commercial again, or did you realize you wanted to do residential service and replacement right away?
That's a great question. Like any other startup in the beginning, that was my strength, and that's all I really knew. I was obviously working for family and friends on residential. So I knew a little bit about residential, but I didn't know a lot. So I was kind of lost for the first bunch of years of Efficient Air. I was trying to find my way. I was trying to decide, do I want to I didn't have the connections I felt like to do commercial.
Right.
And we ended up doing some commercial stuff, but ultimately I realized, we are a residential company. That's where my people, I had to change my mindset, right? It was like, I can't build, it was my strength, but the people I was bringing in at the time, that wasn't their strength. Commercial is a different set of skills. Sure. So we ended up working with the strength of our people, and we just totally converted to a residential company.
How long did it take before you were able to start hiring people? So you started in 2005. Did it happen right away? Like, I got to get some installers. I got to, need some help.
Yeah, great question. I started in 2005, and I was still working my job till 2006.
Okay.
So during that year, I built up, enough work where when I left in 2006, I officially left my job in 2006.
Okay.
I had enough work for about 6 months to survive, and most of it was thanks to the help of my brother, friends, guys that I knew. They all helped, and we got started. I don't remember when we hired our first employee, but in my business plan, my goal was always to work my way out of the field.
Good.
And I was able to accomplish that for the most part on installs, probably by 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
I would say we started bringing in, some helpers, some employees, and I was running service.
Okay.
Probably until around until about 2011.
Okay.
I was running service calls, and then we hired our first service tech in 2011, I believe it was 2010, 2011. Yeah.
All right. And it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, that's when you moved out of your house too. That was a big landmark moment for the business, right? 2011.
Yeah.
It looked like you moved
Yeah,
in
we
your
did.
own office.
It was a home-based business working out of a garage in a basement.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a big, exciting venture. We bought our own building, which now we're, funny. It's 10 years later. I'm actually on the phone with contractors right now. We're looking to add more office space.
I bet.
Somebody told me once that it's funny. A sales rep came in here and said, hey, congratulations, good luck. I've got more warehouse than I have office currently.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Right.
like, one day that's going to change for you.
Right.
And he was right. Here I am talking to contractors. We need more office space.
That's good. That's a good problem to have. That's a great problem to have. Now, did
Yeah.
you shift completely into sales when you kind of got out of the service tech position?
Yeah.
General manager / salesperson.
Yeah, I wear a lot of hats. Even right now, I would do wear a lot of hats. And yes, I have been the primary salesperson until last year. So after until last year, I finally hired a salesperson. I wish I did it sooner.
Okay. Well, we'll dig into that in a little bit. We won't, because we can really veer down that path. All right. So you ran into us, or you found us in beginning of 2020-ish, or maybe end of 2019. You were telling me off camera you actually had met another member. Could you kind of share that story with everyone?
Yeah, sure. So I was on a dealer trip. Beautiful island somewhere. I'm sure we were in a nice pool.
Sure.
And I was just, at the time we were kind of stuck at, we felt like we had the glass ceiling above us. I felt like I wasn't making traction. And one of the members that I was talking to told me about you guys. And when I got back on my trip, I did some research, and I was able to get into, a profit day, and I flew to North Carolina, met the guys there. They really opened up my eyes, right?
Yeah.
And then immediately, after, when I came back, we went to, I joined on, and then I had to do the EP, right?
Sure. Executive
Now
perspective.
that was a little different for us, because at the time I wanted to join pretty quickly. I was kind of anxious to get going. So for me, they made an exception, and I had an EP that was different than anyone else's. I was by myself.
Okay.
Yes, I was the only member. I know, like, usually there's multiple people there, you meet people, etc. So mine was a little different than.
Sure.
I got a little different treatment. And thank God I did it. That was in February.
Right.
And then when March came, COVID hit, everything shut down. So it's a great time to have, SGI, with me, because I felt like you guys helped us get through, the COVID situation.
Well, thank you. I know we were trying to put out as much information as possible. Things were changing by the minute, and you certainly, where you were pretty much ground zero of everything was happening at first. Everyone was looking at New Jersey and Pennsylvania, New York, seeing, okay, what's happening there? What's coming to our part of the country? Talk about, so, you leave February, then this hits on March. What did you do? I mean, I'm sure you left EP with a list of things you wanted to do, right? Or change or implement. And then all of a sudden you're left navigating this other giant circumstance. So were you able to implement things right away, or were you just trying to keep your team busy? What did you have to do back then?
Yeah, well, fortunately, at the time, we, the jobs, everything stopped here. In March, for me, the phones completely died.
Sure.
And the main focus, obviously there's that fear of the unknown. We had to overcome that.
Right.
Just try to stay on track. As the leader, the first goal was to, for the install guys, I happen to have a project for them that they can go on that was safe. So those guys were taken care of. My install team was taken care of. I had to figure out how to get the service techs going.
Sure.
And once I got that, basically what we need to do is retool. I wasn't able to really implement anything that I learned at EP right away because of COVID. So I had to do other things. And a lot of it just had to do with, the messaging. Since our phone stopped ringing, we had to call out. So we immediately started calling out our customers, and we had the scripting that you guys helped, and we fine-tuned it to our, what we need.
100%.
And I think that ultimately changed a lot of things for us. That enabled us to start getting into some people's homes.
Good.
So really, at that point, I had to put everything I learned at EP on hold.
Yeah.
And navigate COVID.
Right. When did when did phones start ringing and start getting to somewhat normalcy? Couple months?
I would say probably a month later.
Okay.
In April-ish, we started noticing, wow, a lot of people are calling.
Right.
And then we kind of, it's crazy, right? But we ended up having another record year in 2020.
Right.
We finally, broke, our $1.8 million ceiling, and we ended up doing I think 2.4 or 2.6. I don't remember, but
sure.
We ended up having a really good year, all things considered.
Yeah, with a month shut down and all that uncertainty.
We made up all that traction. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. A
lot of it, I would say the one thing that we did do immediately after we kind of got things under control with COVID, where meaning the script was right, I felt like our messaging was right to the client. We made the client feel at ease. I would say the most immediate thing that we did was look at our margins.
Good.
And we did end up raising our install prices. I felt like we were really low. So we worked on the margins.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's if anyone learns anything with us right away, it's get your numbers right? Because that you can't grow if you don't have money to invest in your business. What are some of the other things that you maybe did early on? I know you guys have an incorporated service, straightforward pricing you use, which you had, which is fine, but you got your install pricing up. I'm assuming you always did some kind of a service fee, right?
Yeah, we have a service fee. We never ran our company without a service fee. We did raise our service fee.
Okay, good.
We increased that. Some of the things that we've done, right after EP, we changed when it comes to the message of the off, the way we answer our phones, our call takers, we changed our message to, I feel like, I want to impress the customer. I want to break the ice when the client calls in. So we changed our the way we answer our phones to help the customer kind of just feel at ease, like they're doing business with a different kind of company, not just your average HVAC company.
Sure.
Did that. And we just had a lot of projects in 2020. Some stuff that's not really related here. Trying to think what some of the marketing programs that we did in later in the year, they were very helpful too, to help us get through our lower volume months.
Sure. On the service side, we talk about doing complete system performance report and then building options. Was that something you guys had been doing previously, pretty well, or was that something kind of a newer thing for you guys?
It definitely opened up. We were doing it, but not at the level that it is now with the, could do, should do, must do, etc. Those are much better ways to propose, repair work to a client.
Sure.
I personally think that's a fantastic approach.
Yeah.
We had other checklists that we were using, but they're not as good as the system performance report. And when you do it, it really lets, when a customer calls and complains, well, they want a service call, but then they complain about the service fee.
Right.
Well, the reason there is a service fee is because we're doing, a system performance check. So, that kind of helps you. What I've learned is, since I joined you guys, is I've learned that we can help. That system performance check helps us overcome the service fee complaint.
Right.
And if they don't want to pay the service fee, then we really don't want you. If you're already nickel and diming us now, we really don't want you as a customer anyway.
I agree. Totally agree. It's
So,
it's a tangible benefit. Here is what exactly is going on with your system. You call us out. Here's the problem, but we've done this diagnostic, and here's all these other things you should keep an eye on, right? So it's easier at least to sell that for sure.
It absolutely is. It makes it a lot easier for the customer. When we get pushback, well, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a system performance check, and we make sure that our guys are doing it on every job. They have to do it.
Right.
Yep.
How did a big part of that? And I do hear. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. That guys will struggle, owners will struggle in getting their team to buy into that. Did you just have a good team, or what did that process? What was that process like in getting them to understand why we're doing this way now, and here's the benefit to the customer? We're not just adding work for no reason for you.
Yeah, we one thing I would say, kind of backtracking a little bit, we started having company meetings that we never,
Okay.
One thing, I was trying to think what are the things we did immediately.
Sure.
Getting the meetings are important.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we had a smaller crew at the time, we really only had, when I joined SGI, we had two real solid service techs here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had one maintenance tech. And they were pretty receptive. They're the kind of guys that want to do their best job. And whenever we've had to make any changes, they haven't really given us a lot of pushback.
That's
Maybe
great.
It's just because we've been through through a war, basically, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So they've been through a lot with us, and they want to do better. They want to improve. So It really wasn't that much pushback. When we asked to do a system performance check, it just kind of really opened up their eyes, like why we do it. Make sure you get this done. Don't just go to, when you walk, we talk about it a lot when they go onto a service call and they know what's wrong with the unit. Most of us, if you're trained, you could walk up, you could look at a unit and you'll know exactly what's wrong.
Sure.
But we don't want to just do that, change that part, because then you're going to get pushback like, oh, your guy was only here for 5 minutes and he charged me X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So you get rid of all that aggravation when you just do the system performance check.
Sure.
So every time.
Did you notice callbacks went down because the guys maybe were now forced to take their time a little bit, or were they always pretty good?
Checklists definitely help. Occasionally there's oversights and things, Yeah, but yes, I have noticed an improvement for sure.
That's great. You mentioned meetings, and it's always on my checklist of things to talk about is training. How did you first kind of get yourself up to speed on how we deliver service and tell people to deliver service? Again, we're in a COVID environment. Were you just watching videos? Were you able to get to service essentials or anything like that at some point?
Yeah. I haven't done that yet. Service essentials. Training is probably one on the list of something that I would like to see improved at our company.
Sure.
We do train. We tend to train more when we see a pattern occur of maybe something being overlooked, or certain callback, a problem that I start to see.
Sure.
Since we have regular meetings with the service department, we tend to talk about, the things that are going right and the things that are going wrong. And we have those training meetings, when we feel they're necessary. So, part of my vision of, where we see ourselves in the next year or two, when we put this addition on our building, we're going to definitely have a training room up there.
Sure.
That we don't have right now.
Mm-hmm. And
try to have better training. Just on product and different, not just product, but also process, how to run calls and do things.
Sure. Now, how the meetings going? Have they been helpful? I mean, it sounds like it's something you do when you notice issues, but maybe in the past you didn't have those, right? So at least now people are learning from each other, and I've always found in talk with people, it brings a team together. I mean, certainly you've had COVID to battle with, and I'm sure that brought you together, but But again, that regular face-to-face and there's just some camaraderie that comes from that as well.
I agree. I mean, I don't know how they feel about them, but I enjoy our weekly meetings.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it does let everybody know, like, hey, we're all in this together. We're not singling out one person. We talk about what we did right and what we did wrong together.
Right.
If somebody's doing something really good, we ask him to explain, what are you doing? How are you overcoming something? Or how do you get, how do you flip that lead? How do you, so we just talk a lot of positive, information comes out of those weekly meetings. I think they're really important.
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
Not something I would have done if my coach, it took me a bit to get that because, as an owner, you're always thinking about having your guys on the road.
Sure.
But you really got to get them off the road and you got to talk about what's going right, what's going wrong.
Sure. We talked numbers a little bit on the front end, and you realize your install prices, they needed to go up. Now I guess on the install side, gross margin, sounds like the labor and the materials are where they need to be. I know equipment keeps climbing and climbing. Have you had to continue to increase your prices throughout this year? Have you been doing that?
Yeah, we've increased we've had a bunch of equipment price increases like most people have.
Sure.
Materials have gone up. We've had to raise those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, it's always a challenge to once when it comes to the gross margin, you can't get comfortable with, I know in the past, a few years ago, I let that get away from me where
Sure.
You assume that, there's all these little silent price increases that you don't catch. And next thing you know, yeah. So I've had years where we've had, we felt like we were busy, it looked like we were busy,
yeah.
But at the end, we didn't have much profit left over. And it's not fun to work all year and not have a profit left over.
For sure. So have you just gotten into a better, routine of looking at, when those prices are creeping up, or you check it every week, on the with the replacement and all the other materials with service and maintenance, or how do you stay on top of that?
Yeah, it's not easy. Well, fortunately on the equipment side, we have like a live connection, so whenever there's price increases on our equipment, we're able to adapt really quickly to that. So any jobs that we're currently bidding, quoting, etc., they are live connected. So whenever we have an increase, it increases. That price is today's price, which is helpful. Where you just got to watch out is our, on the install side, I've got to watch out for my materials.
Sure.
Copper, all those things have gone up. Yeah. So I look at the numbers. I get feedback from our vendors. Mm-hmm. When I hear something's happening, I'll go ahead and increase there. On the service side, we're using someone to help us with our price book. So every few months we get an updated price book. So we increase there as needed.
Okay. So I was going to ask. So when you mentioned the install prices went up, were your gross margin good in service and maintenance when you kind of first got on with us, or did you realize, okay, we better increase our pricing here because we're maybe not making the margin we needed to be on that?
Yeah, I was way low on my margin for install, but service was always around 55%.
Okay.
But 70% of our revenue comes from install.
Sure.
So, I've got it. That was where we really needed to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So when I came on board with SGI, we increased it. At the time I was only at like 40%. We were working at 40% gross margin on install.
Wow.
We're up to 6. I think we're about 60 now, but obviously we have sales commissions and things like that, so we're giving some of it away. But
sure,
right now we start at 60 right now.
Support for this podcast comes from Professional Plumbing Group. How many hours in a day do your plumbers waste because you don't have the right part for the job? This problem leads to additional issues and reduced productivity, poor customer satisfaction, and increases your cost per job. Professional Plumbing Group, or PPG, can help you solve all those issues and more. We have everything you need to help your business grow and become more profitable by allowing you to focus on plumbing and not inventory management. Go to authorizedplumberprogram.com for more information.
Welcome back to the show. I'm talking with Al Balonze of Efficient Air in Riverdale, New Jersey. In the 2+ years since he's become an SGI member, Al and his team have had back-to-back record-breaking years in terms of revenue. Just this year alone, 2021, sales are up a staggering 94%, at an incredible 52% gross margin. And so far, we've learned a lot about Al. We've learned about his history, the company's history, and some of the changes that he and his team made early on with Efficient Air and how they delivered service. In the second half of this interview, Al's going to talk about how he changed his sales process, as well as the decision he finally made to pull himself out of the field as a salesperson so that he could focus on growing the business. Plus, Al shares a bunch more. So let's jump back into my conversation with Al Balonze of Efficient Air. Let's talk a little sales. You mentioned increasing the price there. Did you adopt any of our, did you change any of your warranties or guarantees, or did you, in terms of the value proposition, or did you always feel like they were pretty strong to begin with and you just needed to finally catch up to what you were offering?
Yeah. Those are areas I always feel like I need to improve. We can always add more value there.
Sure.
The one thing that I did start doing is the comfort guarantee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I felt like that was important because we're doing it anyway. We believe in what we do. We believe in our equipment sizing, how we come to those numbers. So yeah, we started doing the comfort guarantee. That's one of the big things that I've included. There's always room for improvement, but I would say the biggest thing that we did was that. That's the comfort guarantee and the background check and drug screens, installers, employees, we focus on those a lot.
That's great. Now, when you started that, I've heard all sorts of horror stories. It sounded like your team came through pretty solidly, or did you have some changeover when?
No, we didn't have any turnover because of
That's
it.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I've heard whole companies get wiped out. Unfortunately, it's just the state of things are these days.
Well, fortunately, we are small enough. It's always easier to do things like this, to make changes in a smaller company.
Sure.
When you have a much larger company, change is a lot harder and slower. But we can change quick because we're small.
Yeah, for sure. Did you do you guys use our comfort survey to kind of ask those open-ended questions to get people to start thinking about, IAQ and what parts of the home maybe aren't as comfortable as others?
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the things that when I was out selling, as the main selling person for our company, I didn't have much of a process per se, right. So I needed to kind of help refine that. So yeah, those questions helped me stay focused on what my objective was. My objective was to, ask these questions, get all the information I could out of the customer, sure. and move on through the sales process. So yes, I definitely like how that works.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you use our sales system, or do you have another one that you use and you're comfortable with?
I'm pretty much using the SGI sales system right now. Yeah, we don't use the booklet, but we do use the comfort survey. Mm-hmm. We do use the I don't do the load calculations. We do manually.
Okay.
Sure. I'm sorry, we do electronically. We don't do that manually. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, but as long as you're doing them, that's kind of what I always say. That's good.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, when you were the salesperson, did it slow you down a little bit? So you weren't maybe rushing, or did you always kind of realize you just don't want to drop bids and drop 20 of them and go, oh, I don't know why no one called me back?
Question. Well, that's part of the struggle of the small business, of the owner, wearing a lot of hats, is before SGI, I used to run, 3 calls a day. Mm-hmm. And they were not very thorough. I would go on a call, and if I knew I had to get to 3, I was kind of more of a quote giver than than digging and finding problems and fixing, giving solutions, etc. That's where I changed when I came over here. I realized, like, instead of running around burning fuel, giving 3 estimates and just throwing quotes out, if we spend more time with less customers, we'll probably end up doing the same, getting the same amount of business, if not better.
Right.
So that's what I did. I changed my process thanks to you guys.
Did you just read everything? Because you haven't been able to get the training. I mean, things have been squirrely. I mean, you haven't been with us too long, but you've changed so much. Did you just do the best you could, or did you talk to your coach and just kind of piece it from there?
Yeah, a lot of everything. Yeah, listening to the to the videos, the podcasts, and the coach. And I did do the comfort advisor class.
Oh, you did? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
so that helps too,
for sure.
And then, you just go out there and, you do the best you could. I feel like you got to launch, you can't, I'm not the kind of, I'm kind of, I'm from New Jersey, so I'm impatient. I'd rather do something, even if it's not perfect, that's different than I was, than wait for it to be perfect. If you wait for your process to be perfect, you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's me. I just do it. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect, but it's definitely it's proven to be more successful doing it that way than in the past.
Sure. And I did not pay you for the podcast plug. I just want to specify that. But did you notice your closing percentage went up a little bit when you started pacing yourself a little better?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I did. I couldn't tell you what the exact percentage is, but it felt good. It felt right to me. It felt right because I would probably say I gained probably like 10%.
Oh, that's
I probably
great.
gained a job.
Yeah.
More, by doing it that way. And I felt good about when I left the house.
Yeah.
Even if the customer didn't choose us, I know that I did the best that I could do to, uncover their needs, and whether they chose us or not, that was their decision, obviously. But
for sure.
I did the best that I could.
Yeah. No, closing more jobs at a higher ticket is always a recipe for success in it. You can see why your sales have escalated like they have. You mentioned earlier it was a good decision for you to finally get out of the salesperson role so you could manage the business, right? And that's just the process every small business owner has to. You have to continually replace yourself, right? That's part of it. So when did you decide to finally hire a salesperson? What prompted that decision?
Last year, right during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
After COVID, that spring, summer of 2020, we were doing great. As I said, we grew about 40% that year.
Yeah. 2020.
And I was really stressed out. I was working, I had a lot of jobs, just not only at work, but obviously in my family.
Oh, sure.
So we were having a good year, but I wasn't having fun. Yeah. I was stressed out constantly, working. And that summer, the end of that summer, that was it for me. I realized that I can't lead this company the way I want to if I'm constantly out on the road all day long, because when you know how it is, when you're, a comfort advisor, you're on the road for a good portion of the day. So, and there's a lot of phone calls to make. So I felt like I was holding us back, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be the best comfort advisor that I could be. So I had to eventually give up that position.
Right. How did you just put a few ads out there on online and went fishing? How long did it take for you to finally get a good candidate?
It takes a while. Like, it's not easy.
Right.
There's all different kinds of people out there to hire. There's, the guys that have some experience.
Right.
There's the guys that have no experience of our industry. We ended up choosing somebody who had a little bit of experience, maybe 2 years,
Okay.
of working, as an advisor, comfort advisor, but he didn't have any previous experience in our trade, in our field.
Okay.
And, yeah, and he was the best person that we felt, that fit the bill at the time for us, to take over. So
Yeah.
he took over, and we gave him, I did a bunch of ride-alongs with him for the first, few weeks, month. And then it kind of got to the point where he asked me, "Hey, do you mind if I do this on my own?"
That's
And
great.
I let him go, and he closed the sale, and I noticed he started getting comfortable.
Yeah.
So we kind of let him go. And,
That's great.
He's been doing well.
That's fantastic. That's a good story. It can happen. You can let go.
We are looking to hire a second one now. So
that's fantastic. Same process as looking online and interviewing people, or have you gotten that far yet?
We are, right now we're word of mouth and using the normal job boards at this point. It's slim pickings.
I know.
But
if you figure it out, let us know, okay? So we can tell everybody else.
I wish.
Now you've had to hire some technicians as well, right? I mean,
this year we had, we have the most amount of technicians. I hired 2 service techs this year, actually 3.
Yeah.
We had a change. Somebody left our team in the winter of 2021.
Okay.
So we came into the season a little light. So we found at the time, in early 2021, we were able to get a maintenance technician that got us back up to 3. And then those guys, our techs were just getting murdered out there. So they needed more. They needed more help. So fortunately, we were able to find 2 service techs. So that got our team up to 5 now, which is the most I've ever had. So we've got 5 service techs. We're really excited about the future here.
Yeah. Now everyone has to carry their own license in New Jersey, right? They can't just work under your license, or is that incorrect?
In New Jersey, no. I am the license holder, and
you are the license.
Everyone else can work underneath my license.
Okay. All right. So these newer people, they may not. I mean, were they greener and you kind of trained them up? Like that is definitely the new wave, and what we talk to members a lot about, right? Is
we got
people
lucky
without bad habits and teach them how you want it to be done.
Out of the 3 guys that we hired, one of them is green out of trade school, who's got a lot of potential.
Yeah.
He was good with his hands. He's mechanically inclined, so he picks up on everything pretty easily.
Yeah.
So he's a work in progress. The second one we hired, he came from the heating industry, but didn't have much HVAC, but he knew like boilers.
Sure.
So he's also mechanically inclined. He's a heating mechanic, but not an AC mechanic yet.
Yeah.
He's working there. So I wouldn't consider him green, but we're training him.
Okay. And is that a ride-along process, or do you do any technical training in the office? How do you
we had him ride along with our senior guys.
Yeah.
For as well as office, we do some office training here as well in our building, technical training. But a lot of it comes from him riding along with some of our senior guys, getting to learn how to, speak to the clients and watching the videos.
Sure.
So he's going to be fantastic.
That's great.
And then the final person we hired, he's a seasoned technician. He's been doing this for about 5 years, so he's got a lot of experience, and he doesn't need much tech training. He just kind of needs more process training on how we do things, because it's different. Companies operate the way we do.
Right. Well, good. If he's open to it, that's great. You've got a good one then, right there.
So far, so good.
Yeah. You needed more technicians because you got more calls and you're staying busier. I didn't ask about any kind of a maintenance program or club membership program. I'm assuming you have one.
Yeah, we do. Our techs primarily sell the clubs.
Okay. Yeah.
And they renew them as well if needed. But it's mostly, I know that's a big debate. I'm not sure what's right, what's wrong. I know some companies will have their, office staff do it. We decided a few years ago that we wanted our techs to do it.
Sure. I
So
think most everyone has techs to do it. Some have their office do that as well. Did that program change at all with us, or were you pretty happy with it at that point?
Yeah, it did change in the sense that we used to only offer, prior to us being with SGI, we only offered a 1-year plan, which is like, why do we make it so complicated? You know, then we felt like we were constantly chasing expirations,
Sure.
getting people to renew, all the struggles of having a club plan. So we decided to, open it up where, we try to get more monthlies now if we can.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize, all this success brings a lot more club plans in, which is an incredible amount to manage.
Yes, it is. I was going to ask that. How are you managing all these club members? Are you just trying to stack them up during your traditional off-peak seasons? Are you trying to run them the month they're sold? I've heard all sorts of things over the years, because it can add up, right? As you guys are getting better at selling stuff and communicating value.
Yeah,
So
we're adding value. One of the things we also do is, as far as adding value, is we do offer them with our installs. So, for every install we do, we know that we're going to go back to that house at least two more times.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So that kind of keeps our service department busy, and it also keeps our, it allows us to go back and check on our installs to make sure that, our installers are doing everything that they're supposed to,
Sure. And you just build that into the price, of course, of your install. So for those people who are listening, you're not taking a hit on that. You're not just doing free work. Right. Yeah.
Right. Correct. So I think, we do that. And, so the management of them, you asked about how we try, it really depends on how busy our schedule is that day.
Sure.
If a guy sells a maintenance plan, you asked if, do we perform it the same day?
Well, not the same day. I know some people will go, okay, I sold it in June. I'm going to go back 6 months later to do in December to do the furnace tune-up, and then I'm going to come back in June again and to do the AC tune-up. And then there's other people that go, I don't have anything in March. March is slow for us. I'm just going to pile them up in March. But then all of a sudden, you get a 95-degree day in March, and it screws everything up. So I was just intrigued at how you've been.
It's a science. It's a science. It really is. We try to, what we try to do out of the 5 guys that we have now is, now we start to have the luxury where we can have one guy basically doing, 3 of them a day, 3, maybe 4, depending on, So we find it's really important to have one person who's just doing them every day.
Yeah.
The toughest thing that we try not to put them all in 1 month. We try to spread them out. I'd love to, right now we're ending the cooling season, right? We're in, what is it now? August 24th. Can't believe that. But it's still going to be, it's still 90 degrees here in New Jersey, and trying to call a customer, hey, we want to come and check your heating unit.
Right. Right.
That's always a challenge. We always get pushback from our club members occasionally about the timing. And then, we try to do it. We try to spread them out the best that we can. If customers let it, we try to make it a year-round program. That's what I'd like. But occasionally our clients don't allow it. They only want us to come when, if I'm running my air conditioning, I want you here when it's running, and I want you here when I'm running my heating.
Sure.
So that forces us. What ends up happening is that lumps them all into a small amount of time that you've got to do a lot of them. It's a tough thing to manage, for sure. It's not easy.
Yeah. Do you spiff your guys on those? They get a certain dollar amount for each one sold?
Yeah, I think we're currently giving our guys $20 or $25 for every one they sell, and renewals we give the same if they renew it.
That's great.
Yeah, if it's an annual and they renew it, in the field. Yeah.
How about on flips? What kind of a spiff or carrot do they have to flip opportunities to your salesperson?
Yeah, we give them 2% of the gross sale.
Great. That's awesome. Now, I guess
And
sales is all commission, your sales guy?
100%.
Right. And then if he discounts it gets reflected with him as well. He loses a little bit, or does he
Yeah,
get it?
we have a sliding scale. Yeah, so if he discounts, it's all based on, for us, I know every company is different. We base it right now on, on a gross margin for the most part. We have amount he can discount, and our scale slides, up and down based on that.
Yeah, there's people that it might surprise you that they'll say, oh yeah, you can discount it, and they still get the salesperson still gets the same lump sum. So he goes, well, sure, I'll discount it if I can get the sale, right? So I always ask that so people hear that.
Yeah.
Now, how about your techs? Are they hourly, or do you do some kind of performance pay?
No, we're still on hourly with all our people.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, it's always a tough question to ask. I don't ever want to get too much into it, but it's such a big part of it because it affects that gross margin, right? So it's important. I like to bring it up. Now, how about I'm just jumping around as we close out here, and I appreciate all your time, Al. It's been really enjoyable. You talked about marketing a little bit. How, I know things have been just nuts in general in our industry. I feel like phones are ringing just because people are home more and they're running their stuff more, right? But have you had to change much in your marketing or your branding over the last couple of years that's been successful for you?
Yeah, we definitely have hired some. We've brought on some other outside vendors to help us with our digital media strategy.
Sure. Yeah.
So obviously a big chunk of our dollars go to pay-per-click or Google local service ads, things of that nature. Facebook, we definitely spread it around there on the digital. We are still doing some traditional media as well, like mailings. We'll do some postcards and mailings, and they can be successful too at times. We've discovered. Yeah, it's not all about digital. There's still a market out there that looks for direct mail as well. So.
Are you only direct mailing your customer base, or do you do for new clients as well?
We do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you target it by zip code, or how are you? Do you have?
We use demographics. We look for a certain age of home. We don't want to be mailing to a home that was recently built.
Sure.
We try to avoid multifamilies and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's usually income and the age of your home right now, I believe, are the two main, and the age of the homeowner.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Very good. Well, kind of in wrapping up, I mean, you've been through a lot these last 2 years. It's been a ride. Where do you see the company in the next 5 to 10 years? What kind of long-term goals do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see us hit, I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there, so it might be shorter than 5 years, but I'd like to see us. My next step for revenue would be to try to get to 5 million. Then I want to hit 10 million as far as our revenue.
Sure.
I'd like to see us get some more management in place. I think we're at that point right now where we need managers.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to see some management come in. I'd like to grow, get more office space, as I was saying before. Sooner than later, we need more office space for the next sort of phase of our company where we can bring in managers and actually have a workstation.
Yeah.
So I see us getting, just more managers, continue to grow our top line, make sure we're profitable.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's the first manager you think you'd like to add? Maybe like a service manager to try to alleviate that burden for you?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Service, then install. I don't know. I know some companies kind of combine service and install together.
Yeah.
I'd be open to that too. But yes,
sure.
Service/install manager would be the most important next position, I feel.
Is that next year or even sooner?
It might be sooner. I need more space.
Right.
I can't fit anyone else in my office unless they work from home.
Right. that opens a can of worms for sure. So, well, great.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for fellow SGI members that maybe have been with it just not too long and are just starting to make changes and they're apprehensive? We get people like that go through it, but they're afraid of change, but they know they need to do it. So what would you say to them?
Yeah. I would say, to challenge yourself. This is just to SGI members. I would say to challenge yourself, break out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Listen to your coaches. They really do have your best interest. And if, like my coach challenges me, and I appreciate that. He's not afraid to say, what's on his mind, and he's not just there to make me feel good. I don't want a pat on the back. I want to know if I'm doing the right thing, the wrong thing, etc. So I would just say challenge yourself and get out of your comfort zone. I think too many of us owners do sometimes take the easy path, and I think if you challenge yourself and you truly want to have a company that can run without you there, because that's my goal. I'm trying to get this company to run where it doesn't need me to run. In other words, I want to be here, but at a different capacity. I don't want to be the person who, without me here today, this job can't happen.
Sure.
So
sure.
I would say challenge yourself.
I'm glad you mentioned your coach, because I've heard you do a great job of always answering that phone call. You guys have regular meetings. Michael was telling me this, right? I think that's who you work with all the time.
Yes, sir.
Speak to that, because again, there's people that don't take advantage of that. Why did you feel like that was important for you to do that? Yeah, I think it's every week or every month you guys talk?
Yeah, we talk. I try to talk every week, and he's sometimes even surprised that I talk to him in the busy season.
Yeah.
Because it's really, sometimes I need to stop what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like I can consider myself a workaholic at times. Yeah, and sure. That Wednesday phone call that we have, it breaks me out of my routine. And you know what? Every week is different. Some weeks we're celebrating, and some weeks it's like, not that great. And he's there, and we talk about, even if it's a 20 or 30-minute talk, we'll do what we can. We'll talk about what we can, even if I have to make it quick. I may have some things on my mind that have not been going well. We've had some challenges this year. Even with all the success, it comes with challenges.
Yeah.
He keeps me grounded, keeps me focused at times. Yeah. So yeah, he's a great guy. I'm glad I have him.
You're doing the right thing. I mean, that's the value of a group, right? An outside resource. You're not on an island anymore as a business owner. And then last question is, what advice would you have for other non-members, maybe thinking about it? What has SGI meant for you, as a business owner going through this?
Yeah, I think I can say like two things. Like one, if they feel like they're, stuck, like where I was, I couldn't break through a certain revenue goal that I had in mind. Sometimes you need outside help to help you look at your company, look at your numbers, look at your pricing, things that you just never thought about.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I do thank, I'm happy that I joined SGI just because of the scripting and the way they helped us navigate through the COVID times. I felt like I wasn't alone, and you guys were there. So yeah, I would say, if you're stuck and you feel like your company's in a rut, you should reach out to these guys and have them look at your numbers and see what you can do to get yourself to the next level, if that's what you're looking to do.
That's great. Well, Al, I can't thank you enough for all your time, especially in August when I'm sure there's 100 other things you could be doing. Really appreciate your insight. Great story. I think $5 million is going to happen in a blink before you know it. I think you got everything going in the right direction. So thank you so much for your time. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Have a great one.
All right. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye. That's Al Balonze of Efficient Air in Riverdale, New Jersey, on how he and his team have broken through that glass ceiling by having the right mindset and being proactive in changing. Thanks for joining us. If you feel like you have a great story worth sharing that would also help other contractors, please email me at bhouchin@yoursgi.com. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, If you're on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. If you're on your favorite podcast player, leave us a 5-star review. And please join us for future episodes. It's my promise to you that we will continue to interview successful contractors and other influential individuals in the residential contracting world. This is The Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International.
Support for this podcast comes from Arzell HVAC Zoning Technology. Arzell has been producing innovative zoning systems for over 35 years. We manufacture the highest quality HVAC zoning equipment from our factory in Cleveland, Ohio. Innovation, customer service, and outstanding products backed by a lifetime warranty are why so many contractors only use Arzell Zoning. We offer easy-to-install solutions from a basic 2-zone system all the way up to the most difficult zoning applications. For more information, go to arzellzoning.com or contact Annette Justice at annette@arzellzoning.com.
The Successful Contractor podcast is part of the Success Group International family. SGI is the largest member-owned best practices organization for independent residential services contractors. SGI provides its members a competitive edge through proven proprietary management tools and expertise, marketing programs, training, and group buying power, along with a highly active and eager to help membership. For more information about Success Group International, visit www.yoursgi.com.